Good Wednesday evening, everyone. Just want to give you an update on the impacts of Hurricane Helene on our area over the next 2 or 3 days. Currently, the system is located where you see the black X down there in the southern Gulf of Mexico. Maximum sustained winds are at 85 miles per hour, with rapid intensification expected as we go through the overnight hours, making landfall as a major hurricane Thursday evening, sometime after sunset and probably before midnight. I'm right there in what they call the Big Bend area of Florida. Will likely make landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, so certainly a significant storm. Look how far north it stays a hurricane, all the way up into southern Georgia. Definitely still a tropical storm as it passes west of Atlanta and then Chattanooga. And then, yes, it could even be a tropical storm when it makes its way into our neck of the woods. The last time we had a situation like that was Hurricane Opal back in 1995. We had lots of trees blown down, had lots of flooding, got out of school for a couple of days. A very impactful event. So, even though we are far removed from the coast, the impacts from these systems can still be rather high in our neck of the woods. Yes, tropical systems do spawn tornadoes, but I think we're going to be just outside that range of possibility for the spin ups. But I'll certainly keep a very close eye on that because if the path of this changes any, then our risk for tornadoes may increase as well. Just something else to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. So these are the current alerts, and the brown shaded region you see in East Tennessee, that is a high wind watch for wind gusts 50, 60 miles per hour. The red shaded region you see just south of that is for tropical storm watches extending all the way up to Chattanooga. And I wouldn't be surprised to see those extended farther north on into some Tennessee counties, maybe even as far north as us. I don't know. You may say, well, why doesn't Middle Tennessee have any alerts? Well, we are covered by the National Weather Service in Nashville. The counties you see in East Tennessee are covered by the National Weather Service in Morristown. So Cumberland and Fentress and points west are the National Weather Service Nashville. Nashville tends to not issue wind advisories and high wind watches and whatnot until we get much closer to an event. Morristown's usually a lot earlier with those. It's just a difference of philosophy between the two weather service offices. But I can tell you this, we are probably going to get wind advisories, maybe even high wind watches issued for us before it's all said and done, and probably flood watches as well. We're fortunate in that the ground has been so dry because that'll allow plenty of opportunities for the moisture to find a place to go. Our stream beds are low, if not dry. Ponds, lakes, everything's low. So there's plenty of places for a lot of water to go. So we're not overly worried about flooding, but still, we're going to get several inches of rain. So make sure your drainage areas, I know it's been a while because we've been dry for so long. Just make sure there's plenty of places for water to easily get away from things that you don't want to be flooded near your home. And make sure all loose objects are secure because the winds are going to get very gusty here, 40, maybe 50 miles per hour. So another good thing about the dry ground is that it'll be harder to push trees over. In a dry ground, that's harder to do than a wet, saturated soil that can easily topple trees. But as the ground gets wetter and wetter, that risk will increase. So we've got some concerns, but there are some things working in our favor as well. But nevertheless, it's going to be an impactful event. I would prepare for power outages. Just be safe, because once the winds get to going, if a tree does come down or whatnot, then you're going to have some power outages that you need to be ready for. My level of concern for Thursday night into Friday will be at level 3 for damaging winds and flooding. So we'll be mindful of both of those factors. And we thank USA Mortgage for bringing us this level of concern graphic. And we'll certainly be mindful of those threats. And Premier Generators brings us our threat graphic, and we thank Premier Generators for their services because a lot of folks may be using those generators before this storm is over with. Straight line winds and flooding are my main concerns, the main threats with this system. So if you haven't thought about getting a generator before, you might want to think about it now. And Clearview Closet and Blind brings us our 5-day forecast. Wind and rain developing on Thursday. The first half of the day is probably going to be okay, but as we get closer to the sunset hour and then after sunset are when things really start to go downhill all throughout the night. Thursday night as Hurricane Helene gets closer and closer. Friday looking just awful. Wind, heavy rainfall, and be careful too on area roads. We got a lot of construction around the county, and there's some of those sites that haven't seen rain like what we're going to see. So Yeah, I don't know that rainwater is going to be able to get away from there in the amount that we're going to get. So there could be a lot of flooding near construction sites. So just be mindful of that. Saturday, 70% chance for rain. Windy conditions continue. And then Sunday, we taper down to 50%, Monday down to 30%. So lots of rain, lots of wind, especially over the next 72 hours. So let's just be prepared for that. I will have a full update in the morning to give you the latest. I have a feeling Hurricane Helene is going to be a lot stronger than 85 miles per hour by the time I do the morning update. So it's going to be interesting to see how she intensifies overnight tonight and how rapidly she does so. Helene is a big storm. Helene will probably be a historic storm for many areas, and it'll be a lot of folks need to be near and dear to our hearts. Remember that there are some folks who can't evacuate near the coast; they don't have the means to. So it's not always a choice matter. So let's certainly keep those folks in our prayers and close to our hearts, and just hope everybody makes it through it safe and sound. You folks have a wonderful rest of your evening, and keep looking up for more weather information. Meteorologistmark.com.